When you're preparing to quit drinking alcohol, one of the best things that you can do is to think about what you're going to replace what you've lost, right? So the benefits of you quitting drinking, what are you going to use to replace those benefits once you've stopped drinking? I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com, and today I wanted to talk about replacing what you lose once you've stopped drinking, or once you've quit any bad habit, right? Once you've stopped using alcohol, cigarettes, any drug, when you're trying to lose weight, all that kind of stuff, right? So what are you going to replace the old habit with? You know, what is it that you're going to, for instance, in quitting alcohol, if you're using alcohol to relax, what are you going to replace that with? You know, how are you going to relax once you've stopped drinking? And you know, when you're quitting drinking, when you're preparing to quit, this is something that you've really got to spend a little bit of time thinking about, because if you don't replace the reward, if you don't replace the benefit that you're getting out of drinking, then you're going to find it difficult, right? Much more difficult than you would have otherwise. You know, when you're drinking, there's a habit sequence, right? There's a habit sequence in any habit, and that's your trigger, what sparks off the habit to kick off, the behavior itself, so whatever it is, drinking, smoking, eating, and then the reward. And it's this reward at the end, the consequence, or the benefit that you derive from the behavior that you've got to replace, right? So before I start to talk about some of the things that I had to replace, you're well worthwhile. It's well worthwhile for you to sort of sit down, take whatever it is, half an hour, and just think about your own habit. Think about it from run through it, and just think about the reasons for you starting to drink, right? You know, why do you drink? I know this can be difficult, right? It's difficult when you've been doing something for a long time, because you know, some of the reasons might be well hidden in, you know, this is the habit. So a lot of the stuff we just do when it's sort of unconscious, you know, the motivations are unconscious, certainly. So it's something that you have to personally think about. Some of the things that I used to do, the reasons for me drinking, were to relax in the evenings, to de-stress. I used to drink for the buzz, certainly. I used to drink because I was bored. I drank basically because, you know, that's what I did in the evenings. That was part of my ritual. And I also drank for the thirst. So, you know, boredom is an easy one. You know, you just, I mean, I was bored most of the time because I was drinking. It wasn't the other way around. It was, drinking was causing me to be bored. Drinking was causing me to be boring. You know, this is what I did. This is all I did. You know, go to work, eat food, drink alcohol, and sit at my arse. You know, you can't drink alcohol and be active. It's just, you know, you might do it for a while, but you won't do it into the long term. You know, and the two of them just don't go hand in hand together. You know, I'm not talking about, fair enough, you can drink alcohol and you can sort of be in a place where you're dancing, or you can do other stuff like that. I'm not talking about that activity. I'm talking about getting outside and seeing the world and doing things, and trying to be somebody, you know, trying to broaden your horizons, increase your knowledge, that kind of thing. So I don't think you're going to have any problems with boredom once you stop drinking, if you think about it, right? If you put in the work and put in the effort in your preparation before you stop, you know. You know, I'm often asked about how to reduce the symptoms, the side effects, the cravings of alcohol. of quitting drinking alcohol. How do you reduce that? And I'll tell you, one of the best things that you can do is preparation. Spend a lot of time before you quit drinking thinking about what you're going to do after you've quit drinking. And I'll tell you, you'll get great benefits from this, because you set your mind in the right sort of framework. It's a bit like getting your GPS out and put it in the right coordinates from the start. Sort of, if you don't know where you're going, if you don't know how you're going to get there, then your journey is going to be a fucking hell of a lot longer, a lot harder, and a lot more frustrating. So to avoid all that frustration, to avoid a lot of the frustration, you can spend a bit of time preparing beforehand. So write down your list of benefits, think about these things. Getting back to my own list, these are only a few things, a few of the benefits that I used to get from drinking. So boredom was one. Another one was the buzz, and I can't replicate that alcohol drunkenness, but I don't want to anymore. This is, I want to get out of my face and smashed and whatever you want to call it, locked out of my head, as we used to say in Ireland, because I was bored, because my life sucked big time. When you're a drinker and you drink all the time, and that's what you do for pleasure, it's like eventually you stop getting pleasure out of it. For a start, that pleasure disappears. Then it's like everything revolves around alcohol. You sort of become more isolated, you get into yourself a lot more, you sort of lose interest in other people, not being around other people. A drinker always likes company, but it's not the same company as when you're fully in your own mind and you're fully attentive to what's happening around you, because drinkers are not that way at all. When you're in company, when you're drinking, you're locked up in your own brain. You're having fun with other people because, for whatever reason, that kind of stuff might seem to be fun when you're a kid, but when you get older, there's no fun in it anymore. I mean, my drinking was, a lot of my drinking, 65-70% of my drinking was isolation drinking. It was on my own. It was sort of sitting there and watching boring TV, doing something boring on the computer, and waiting for that time to come when I just got drunk enough to not care anymore, to go to bed, to not have to think about it anymore. That was my life at drinking. I know that's what many people think. That's the way many people's alcohol drinking goes to. And it's the same as if you're doing heroin, if you're a smoker. I mean, tell me a smoker that enjoys the habit. They say they enjoy it, but they don't really. It's one cigarette after another cigarette, and these days it's normally rush cigarettes outside an office building, or outside your home, where you're not allowed to smoke in your home anymore. You're not allowed, so there's no enjoyment. So the buzz, that aspect of things, I think, that's all. I can get a much better buzz. I do get a much better buzz now doing the things that I'm doing, getting out and getting up in the morning knowing I'm not going to have a hangover. I mean, sort of I'm used to that now, but it's like I was getting a great buzz out of that in the beginning. I'm getting a great buzz here, just stood here over, looking over the Med. I moved here after I stopped drinking, so I moved here before I stopped drinking, so just a great feeling. So the other three, the thirst, relaxation and de-stressing. I mean, the thirst is an obvious one, right? I mean, I can certainly cure my thirst much better with water than I ever did with alcohol. I mean, alcohol just doesn't cure thirst, right? It was only I was totally kidding myself all the time that alcohol came anywhere near to curing my thirst. It was just something that I had in my head. It was an excuse to drink, an excuse to get down to the pub. I was thirsty, I wanted a few pints, Not that I needed an excuse. And relaxation, de-stressing, that's all another thing that's in the mind. I sort of do a lot of the similar things that I used to do, I like sitting down, relaxing, watching a TV program, watching that kind of stuff, and I like getting out with other people, having a laugh. And I still do those things. So just taking the alcohol out of the equation. We equate alcohol with whatever it is that we're doing. But if you take the alcohol out and give it a bit of time, change your attitude a little bit, then you'll soon see that the two are not. The two don't have to go together. That you can have fun, much more fun without alcohol than you ever did with alcohol, because you're there in the moment. You're with yourself, you're with other people. You can pay much more attention if you're just watching TV, for instance. You can just pay much more attention to doing that. And I've said this before about alcohol, that your body will never relax with alcohol in it, because while you're presuming that your body is relaxing and you feel like you're relaxing, you're in that relaxing atmosphere that you've built for yourself, that you've constructed for yourself. I mean, it takes a lot of work to sort of build this, whatever it is that you've got in your own home where you drink. It takes a lot of work to get that right, to get it to how you like it to be, to get it so that you're relaxing, that you can relax, right? So you've gone to all this effort of building this place for yourself, nice comfy chair, put your feet up, this big TV, whatever it is that you've got and whatever it is that you use. And then you put alcohol into the equation and you presume that this is adding to the relaxation, right? Because that's what we're told. But, as a matter of fact, while you're presuming to relax, your body is underneath on red alert, right? It's all there. Your body is there trying to get rid of the alcohol. It's trying to fight to keep you alive. So how is that relaxation? So there are plenty of other ways. There are plenty of ways, not other ways, because alcohol is not relaxing. It doesn't de-stress you. It puts you out of the game for a while, but so does sleep. A good night's rest, I tell you, is a better de-stressor and relaxant than anything else. And you never get that when you're drunk. Never, because your body just can't sleep. You go unconscious, but that's not the same as proper recuperative sleep, right? So just think about those things. This is all about finding the benefits, thinking about the benefits that you're getting from drinking alcohol, and first of all looking at them and seeing if they are actually benefits. If these things, if they're real or you're just kidding yourself, and secondly to figure out whether which benefits, how you can replace it. Figure out how you're going to get a good sleep, how you're going to relax, how you're going to de-stress, how you're going to stop yourself from getting bored, right? How you're going to get that buzz in your life. I guarantee you that if you put some effort and time into thinking about these things before you even stop drinking, right, before, in that preparation stage, then you're going to find it a lot easier afterwards to deal with these problems as they come up. You'll know what you're going to do. Lay out your roadmap before you even need it. Lay it out from the beginning. So that's it for today. If you have any questions at all, any comments, leave them down below in the comment section. Come on over to the website and sign up for the newsletter. It's a free newsletter, and there's a free course on how to relax and how to de-stress yourself. I've also got a new course out now, which is all about preparation and getting yourself prepared. You know, if you haven't quit drinking yet, I think this is, I've tried to design this course to give you the least amount of hassle once you've stopped drinking, to get yourself prepared, you know, to get your mind prepared, to get your body prepared, people around you prepared for this new life that you're about to take. So I think it's a really good course. I spent a lot of time doing it, and you'll find that on the website. I'll send you the link out. If you want to get the course at 40% off, you can click the link down below, and you know, just go to the link there, press the button, and you get 40% off the course. So until next time, keep the alcohol out of your mouth, stay safe, stay relaxed, stay stress-free. I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Onwards and upwards.